Unlock the future of pathology with Pathology News, your ultimate source for cutting-edge insights, expert analysis, and the latest breakthroughs in digital and computational pathology. Don't just stay informed, stay ahead.
Hello and welcome to another Pathology News podcast. My name is Ocanagil-Tunstall and I'm the Marketing Director here at Pathology News. And today we're in for a really insightful discussion with the ESDIP team. Now I'd like to start by saying that digital pathology has moved from the question of if to the question of how well. There's an abundance of labs that have already gone digital, and there's growing pressure on those labs to integrate with other diagnostics like radiology and genomics and fit in within this digital oncology sphere that's growing. At the same time, we've also got a lot of new questions to answer and discuss. They include regulation, workforce readiness, validation, and sustainability. So today's conversation is focused on how one society is trying to navigate all of that, not just through their annual congress, but through a year-round collaboration and activity with its community. So to explore all of that in more detail, I'm joined by three people deeply involved in ESDIP and the digital pathology community. And if you don't know what ESDIP is, that's the European Society of Digital and Integrated Pathology. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing Norman Zerbe, the president of ESDIP, Vincenzo Imperiale, who's the vice president at ESDIP, and last but of course, by no means least, Inti Zlobec, who's serving as the secretary over at ESDIP. Now, before we get into the society itself, I'd like to get to know my panel a little better. So starting with you, Norman, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your role and how you found your way into digital pathology.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thanks for having us here in this podcast. My name is Norman Zerbe. I have a computer science background. I'm based in Berlin, in Germany, at Charité, working there in the Institute of Pathology in the beginning for almost 15 years, and now lately in the Institute of Medical Informatics, combining computer science and pathology informatics here. Together in the research field, but also in the clinical domain. And this was also how I reached to the field already during university. Had the chance to do some image analysis based on pathology images, and really like the field. Find it quite diverse. And then later on, with the introduction of additional modalities and additional data, it became even more fascinating. And in the last years, then I moved more to interoperability and standards, and lately also regulatory questions, because I really think that this is, we will probably come back later in the podcast to this topic, one of the things that is holding us back and where we really can accelerate. And this was also one of the reasons why the society grew in that direction, why we maybe even founded it, because we need a hub for more than just individuals getting together at meetings, and this is how the society was born, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, fantastic, and it's such a pleasure to have you here today. Vincenzo, moving on to you then, perhaps a little bit about your background and how you got into digital pathology.
I'm a pathologist. I work in the north of Italy. I work in the hospital of San Gerardo in Monza, and I'm also an assistant professor of pathology at the University of Milano Bicocca. As a pathologist, I found it as a really strong revolution in our field after immunohistochemistry, after molecular pathology, the introduction of the tracking and the automation in the field and the digitization of the slides is really something that is twisting our reality. It has been a long time since it started. Before it was something, if you want, just fascinating, stimulating, but now it's becoming a reality. And I am glad of being part of a society that is trying to help the community to design this new world of digital pathology.
Yeah, fantastic, and again, a massive pleasure to have you here. Moving on to you then, Inti. What are your thoughts on your background, and perhaps why did you get into digital pathology?
Yeah, thanks a lot. First of all, also for having us here again. So hi everyone, my name is Inti Zlobec. So I'm a professor of digital pathology and director of a new department called the Department of Digital Medicine at the University of Bern. So in 2011, actually, I came to Bern not only to pursue research, but also to establish a new lab at that time. It was called the Translational Research Unit. And it was at that point in late 2011, 2012 that we decided to purchase our first slide scanner. And the aim was actually to be able to create those tissue microarrays that where you could actually, make a digital annotation of the area that you wanted, in essence, to punch out. So you would align that slide and that block together, and you would make those, those punches and make those like very specific tissue microarrays. So we called this NGTMA, and it became very, very popular. And we produced a lot of these TMAs. And then immediately we were confronted with all of these topics that are, current topics today, like, interoperability, storage issues, file formats, and just like overall so much data to be able to analyze that just, scoring things now based on eyeballing became impossible. So basically, this is what really pushed my lab and my own research. So I'm a colorectal cancer researcher, and really pushed this into the field of computational pathology.
Thank you so much, Inti. I think we can all agree that eyeballing has really become a thing of the past. Now, heading back to the Congress and the Society, I'd like to make a point of the fact that people usually encounter ESDIP pretty exclusively, really, through the annual Congress itself, and don't see it at any other point during the year. So, Norman, I was kind of hoping that you could tell us a little bit more about what the Society does and is aiming to do.
So of course it's correct that from also the history and from the genesis of the society, the Congress always has been a very important aspect and had a very important role in the life of the society, and this is still today the case. For the society roots go back to 1992, where actually the first meeting was organized in Heidelberg in Germany back then. So this shows also that it's a very strong community with a core group that then led over, I would say, 15 years in the field and in Europe, but it was never a society around. And then we decided actually in 2016 to found a legal entity to really bring not only this group of activists together every year, which we changed then to an annual Congress, but also to start more and more long-lasting and sustainable activities. And this is what we did since then. And this year we have the 10-year anniversary of the society, which is also a very fortunate situation, and shows also the importance of the field and the growth. Because now we have become a community hub. There's committees that are working on scientific topics or on educational aspects. You're probably aware of several papers that came out, or educational aspects, topics or projects like the webinars that we are doing, or for example the digital pathology map. So there's several of those activities, and most of them are free. All of them are free for members, and most of them are free even for the public. And we have other committees and working groups working on topics like standardization, interoperability, and regulatory, or now starting something towards spatial. Of course, omics is an important aspect, as we have this integrative, even in the name of the society. So this integrative dimension, this collaboration also between the different domains, not only computer science and pathology, but also what you also mentioned earlier, the collaboration between oncologists, between radiologists, between urologists in the diagnostic process.
I love that you've mentioned radiology, urology, and oncology in the same breath there. Multimodal data is becoming more and ever important. I think, that's really where the future of diagnostics is going. Perhaps that's something that we'll touch on later. Earlier, I mentioned that people only really encounter ESDIP through the annual Congress, ECDP. But that gets me wondering, what does ESDIP do outside of the Congress? When it's not on conference hours. Vincenzo, could you enlighten us a little bit on that?
Thank you, because it's something that we we actually want to stress that between one Congress and another, of course, for Norman, for Inti, for me, and for the other organizational part, there is tons of meetings for organizing everything that we want to deliver to the members and to the public. And specifically, Norman already mentioned just briefly all the activities that ESDIP is doing in between one Congress and another. I would like to stress the last welcomed in our house, which are the webinar series. It's a monthly appointment that we are already at the 5th one. And actually today we have another appointment with our webinars in which we invite speakers to deal with topics that are really pressing in the field. These are also recorded, so they are freely available to members that wants to rewatch these webinars or they do not have time to watch them live. This is from the educational side. We have also available still on the educational track on our website for members the ESDIP Academy, which is a series of pre-recorded lessons for pathologists which wants to learn some basics of computer science, and for computer scientists that want to learn some basics of pathology to move the first step in the world of digital and computational pathology. And more than that, for the community, this last year we launched the digital pathology map, which is an opportunity for people that wants to have their pin on the world map and say we are fully digital, to use this platform and to share their experience with us. And meanwhile, for the others that want just to have an idea of how the world is doing, they can just go to the map and see all the pathology labs that are there and that have their experience in digital pathology. I can add further examples of what we do from one ESDIP Congress to another. There is the scientific content that we produce. Norman already briefly said that there are some papers that are already out there, and we, in the last, I would say, 4 years, we strongly focused our attention towards the dissemination of scientific results to the public. So maybe we can briefly touch this later, but I mean, and we want to fill the year with a lot of educational and scientific activities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. I have to say, it sounds like you guys are exceptionally busy at the moment. Yeah, and just to touch on those webinars quickly, that's something that we'll be offering on Pathology News. You can go ahead to our on-demand webinars page and link through to the ESDIP webinars there. Now, Norman, you spoke a lot about the community in your introduction. I'm just wondering what kind of people are you actively trying to bring into the society now? Inti, perhaps that's something you can speak to.
Oh yeah, sure. So actually, we're actively wanting to attract basically anyone who's interested in the topic of digital pathology, computational pathology, or integrative pathology. So I mean, it's independent of the background. You might be an MD, a pathologist, or even not a pathologist. I'm an engineer or a student in computer science or biomedicine. Also now even a technician. There's actually a lot of interest coming up from the people who are really working, let's say, at the front, sort of creating that digitization, or who are really like involved in those workflows, and they really want to learn more. And it's actually the basis of everything, right? So actually we have a lot of technicians who are now, very interested in learning more about the process and the outcomes of that. Also biobankers. I mean, I also know that a lot of these sort of very large projects, in terms of, hosting massive amounts of digital slides and associated data and clinical data, are being housed in biobanks. So I think also from the biobanking point of view, it becomes a very interesting topic. And even as a bioinformatician, you might be dealing with spatial data and trying to combine spatial data with morphology, or as a data scientist. I mean, it's really very, very broad. The people who might be interested in some aspect of what we're able to offer is really very broad. I mean, the underlying theme is digitization and, the visualization and the analysis of tissue, but it could come from any angles.